I am thrilled to introduce you and personally to meet my next guest. She is a woman of intellect, she's a woman of faith, and she's a woman with depth. Someone who has reason to boast but chooses humility and kindness instead. Basically, she's our kind of gal. Brigitte C. Madrian is the Dean of the Brigham Young University Marriott School of Business. Before coming to BYU, she was on the faculty at the Harvard Kennedy School, the University of Pennsylvania Wharton School, the University of Chicago Graduate School of Business, and the Harvard University Economics Department. Just a small little resume there. Dr. Madrian received her PhD in economics from MIT, and her current research focuses on behavioral economics and household finance. Because we value a personal resume as much as we do a professional one, I will add that Dr. Madrian is a mom of two. Welcome to Studio 5.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
That is quite the resume, both personal and professional. We've heard a lot about you. The birds are talking in very good ways. We've heard how intentional of a leader you are, and we've heard how much you are loved and admired by the students of BYU. So we are so excited to get to know you, Dr. Madrian.
Thank you.
I want to ask you, you left Harvard to come to BYU, and you say you're often asked about that sacrifice, that some people might view it as a downgrade, but you were clicking your heels. You were thrilled to make the move. How come?
I had been doing what I'd been doing for 25 years, which is being a faculty member and teaching classes and doing research at some amazing institutions. I feel so lucky and fortunate. But I was ready for a change. I was ready to learn new things. I'd never been in an administrative role. I'd never had a really significant leadership position. And I was ready to push myself in different ways. And the job has absolutely delivered on that. And when people ask me what I like most about having come to BYU to take my position at the Marriott School, I tell them that it's the way it's pushed me to become a better person.
It's the growth opportunity.
It's the growth opportunity.
Are you one of those unicorns who loves change, who embraces change, looks for change?
Boy, that's a good question. No one's ever asked me that.
Some women do. I think it's rare, but I think I'm looking just over your resume and that leap that you took. I mean, you spoke to growth, but was the change exciting too?
It was exciting. Yeah, it was a little scary.
Sure.
I'm going to be honest. It was a little bit scary, but I mean, that is how you learn new things and you keep from getting bored. But you have to be willing to take a little bit of risk.
A little bit of risk. It is that leap again. You've noticed across college campuses, and I'm assuming within the walls of your own home as well, raising young adults or helping to support young adults as well. They're anxious, we hear. Young adults are anxious and they're worried. What do you teach, Dr. Madrian, in your own home and on BYU campus to help these kids find more confidence and more peace?
Boy, that's the $1 million question we're all trying to figure out. One of the things that we've done at the business school is about 4 years ago, we hired a full-time behavioral and mental health counselor to work in our building so that we would have someone who would help the faculty and the administrative employees better understand the stresses that our students were facing, and we would have someone right there in the building. So when students needed someone to talk to, they didn't have to walk all the way across campus. We had someone, right there in the building, down the hallway, and someone that was a familiar face that they'd seen walking the hallways. And we think that that's been a positive thing. We'll put up a few months ago, we had a little pop-up booth in the building atrium, the center hub where everyone is, stressed last week with massage chairs and lollipops and aromatherapy and things like that. So we're trying to do things to teach the students how to cope with stress, because that's just a part of everyone's life.
So aside from scents of lavender and massage chairs, both of which sound lovely, is there a mantra you find yourself saying or a pick-up phrase that you find yourself using as you personally try to coach and encourage these kids towards success and, again, confidence?
Yeah, so we have 4 values at the Marriott School, and our first value is faith in Christ. We value a deep and abiding faith in Jesus Christ. Our faith gives us the capacity to envision a better future, the confidence to make that future happen, and the courage to act in the face of challenges. And I use that for myself when I'm having challenging times. And so, trying to give our students a touch point. Look, this is what your faith means, and this is what it can do for you. And when you really have that kind of faith, even if you're not certain about what's going to happen in the future,
Yeah.
you have this belief and this hope that it will turn out okay. And even if there are difficult things you have to go through to get to the other side, it's about what you're learning and how you're growing through that experience.
I love that rooting in values. You know, we do spend a lot of time, attention, and resources on tools, and you mentioned some, some good ones, the aromatherapy or music. And we looked for those tangibles, but what you're saying is those values, those core characteristic values, can be an antidote to the stress and anxiety that kids are facing, and I like that.
Yeah.
That rings true. That rings true. You're the first woman to serve as the dean of the BYU Marriott School. And anytime a woman is put in a position of influence, I feel like a common question we reach for is, what do you hope the younger ladies, the young women, the girls, will look up to you and learn from your advancement or your success? We don't have a lot of little girls watching the show, but we have moms and nanas, so big little girls, right? Grown up little girls. What would you say to women about seizing opportunities, about saying yes?
Well, I would say there's two sides to that saying yes. There's saying no, and there's saying yes. And oftentimes saying yes to one thing means saying no to something else. I left Harvard and took this job at BYU when I was in my early 50s. I wasn't a spring chicken. And there are so many ways that capable women can influence the world for good. And don't be afraid to do something different. If you've had a dream of a way that you could contribute or a new skill or something like that, what's the worst that can happen? I mean, the worst that can happen is you fail, but
we've done that before, most of us anyway, speaking from my personal experience, not projecting that on you. It is an interesting, evolution or movement right now where I feel like a lot of women in that second chapter, if you want to call it that, or the empty nest phase, are grabbing onto big dreams and big goals.
Yeah, and it's exciting. I have a friend who, in her 40s, decided she was going to learn how to paint, and now she paints professionally and sells her paintings, and it brings her a lot of joy and fulfillment. I can't see myself doing that, but a lot of people can't see themselves doing what I'm doing. Yeah. But it's such an example for our children as well, to show them that we can go out and do new things. I remember when I was growing up, my mother decided to start taking piano lessons. And that had a huge impact on me. It wasn't her piano playing. It was the fact that she, as a mom of 5 kids who never grew up with a piano, decided, I'm going to learn a new skill. And that had a huge impact on me when I had kids.
I bet. You recently spoke at the Marriott School graduation. This was last week. And during your speech, you reached for a little used and under-celebrated word, and that was mighty. You encouraged the students to go on to be mighty leaders. Can you expand on that? What does mighty look like? What does mighty feel like? What is mighty to you?
Yeah, it was a fun exercise writing those remarks because I had never thought about the word mighty, and I kind of, we use it. Yeah. It's not like a word I hadn't heard, but I'd never thought about it.
Right.
And for some reason, I decided I want to understand what mighty means, and I looked it up in the dictionary, and it means powerful. And I think often we think of powerful individuals who have authority because of their position or their title in the world. And what I wanted to help the students think about is the fact that power doesn't really come from a title. It doesn't really come from the position that you hold. Your power to influence the world comes from being a good, righteous person. And from this internal source of strength. And anyone can be a mighty leader, even if you don't have
a title. Or a position.
Yeah, something that you're going to put on your resume.
Power is in presence, I've learned, right? And that inner core, I think, dictates the presence we
and
put
the
out.
leaders we think about as powerful leaders are leaders who had a cause that was important and made a difference in the world.
In our last minute together, I do want to ask you about your faith. You are a strong woman of faith. And in a recent podcast interview, you shared a little something that you have come to know and believe about God. You said, He cares about us, and He loves us, and He showers us with blessings. And sometimes those blessings do not always look like blessings, but with the benefit of hindsight, we come to realize what we've learned and how we've grown. I like what you said there about the benefit of hindsight. Can you think of something that you've learned just briefly looking back that came from time or that came from hindsight?
Yeah, I had an experience a little while after I started at BYU. I had a big initiative, put a proposal in, it got approved, and we were going to have a new leadership center as part of the Marriott school, and the university administration made the decision that they wanted this to be a university initiative, not a BYU Marriott initiative.
A little bigger.
Which is great, a little bigger. Matter of fact, I had a big vision for that. And that was really hard to kind of come in still really new, trying to build my credibility, and to have someone say, we want to go a little bit of a different direction. And I spent a couple of months, having really difficult conversations with leadership of the university about that decision, and I had to internally decide for myself, am I here doing this job because of me, or am I here doing this job because of the things that I can do?
It's that lens of humility, like what's my purpose?
And at the end of the day, I had to come to the decision, this isn't about me.
Oh. It's amazing how much that sentence is said here in the studio in the throes of parenting conversations, leadership conversations, or personal growth conversations as well. I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Dr. Madrian, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you, and thanks for all you're doing to charge ahead those future leaders.
Thanks.
We appreciate you.